I want to ask the question, Optical. Does price influence criticism? Because I think this is one that I find just a really interesting talking point in a conversation. Because again, what we just talked about with the Tom Holland, right? I'm actually going to bring that one back up. Because 280, we're really happy about that. And also the way I'm kind of approaching this topic is if something is a little bit cheaper, I think we're more forgiving of it, right? Because, I think a lot of times nowadays, Optical, we've been a little bit spoiled, all of us, with getting figures for cheap, right? When you buy a Short Trooper for 230, it's like, okay, this Short Trooper is pretty good. I like it. But when you buy a Short Trooper for 115, it's like, this is amazing, right? Because it just feels better. It just feels better that you paid less for something and you ended up getting something that is higher quality. That said, I feel like the pendulum also swings the opposite direction when you're buying a JND or a Queen Studios or an Infinity Studios or buying a higher price Hot Toys like Carnage, right? The bar for Carnage is going to be higher just because it's bigger, it's more expensive, right?
Yeah.
And I do think that price influences our criticism because I feel like it's like a mutual reaction. So when price goes up, criticism goes up, right? That's just how it tends to be. And I think that's something that we need to factor into this. But I want to hear the chat's thoughts on this and yours too, Optical, because one, I saw a comment already, Cobb Vanth, right? Cobb Vanth at 300, 295, whatever he was, people were like willing to criticize him more harshly because they felt it was overpriced. But you put that Cobb Vanth at like 250, 260, people's their willingness to be forgiving tends to change, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think, Optical? I mean, one of the reasons this figure looks amazing, right? It looks incredible. But if I'd be willing to bet if this figure were $500, we'd be like, Tom Holland looks a little old. Like we'd be like, there's a little bit too much wrinkle in there, right? But at 280 or 350, whatever one, 345, we're like, this is Hot Toys best, right?
Right.
You know where I'm coming from with that? What do you think?
I mean, that's fair criticism, of course. Like that applies on every walks of life. They expect more from you if you're commanding more. Like with this guy, it just like that's why we don't hear a lot of complaints about 3-0 because their figures are 150.
Right.
So if they don't look right, you're gonna be like, because you're paying 150, so you're getting a 150, figure basically. That's why a lot of people are making fun of the boys from Star Ace because they are charging 350 and they look worse than 3-0. So that's why they became a joke. So the higher the price tag is, the better, the higher the expectations is. And we like to pick on Hot Toys because up until recently, they are the standard. They're the most one who priced a lot up until InArt came over. So now InArt's going to have that crown now where if your neck is a little wrinkled, you'll be like, well, this is unacceptable for $500 Joker, so and it comes in the territory. That's why I want to give Hot Toys their flowers with this Spider-Man right here, because they could have easily priced this at 310. And again, no one would bat an eye, but they stepped back, they scaled back. They're actually getting closer at that price, 280. You've seen some third party now for that almost that same price for like 220. Third party used to be 150, 170. Now the quality goes up. Sometimes they go higher as well, but it is fair. I think it's a fair game. You can't, even though they're the same, for example, they're the same 1/6 scale, like this is really good. So we always say that like this is good for its price for 180 because it's 180. You make this like Hot Toys, which is 280. You're going to be like, where's the stand? You can't have Rick Grimes without a stand. Even though I would say at 280, it's still pretty darn good. I'm not gonna lie, because he does have a jacket, he does have a bag. But for 180, this is a steal. Steal. At 280, not so much more so of a steal. Still a pretty good. You're gonna be like, all right, it looks pretty good. It could do a little work on the eyes. It looks a little dead, but the criticism goes higher. But since it's 180, you'll be like, man, for 180, this is a steal. Everyone should just pick this up. Looks good. The joints are not really that visible. If they make it 280, it was like, where's the stand? The eyes could use a little work. So it changes. Your perception changes because now you're getting to the, instead of, let's say if this is 280, now you have a task now whether picking this up or picking a Hot Toy. So you'll be like, I'm at Hot Toys level now. So kind of like, so now you're gonna ask yourself, is this worth a Hot Toy? How much do I love Rick Grimes? To and I know you love Pennywise, so people are gonna ask that question with InArt Pennywise. It's like, it's $500. Should I buy Anakin in this Spider-Man, or should I get Pennywise? Pennywise might be an overall better figure because of the rooted hair, but is he that much better than two figure? Like, how much do you love Pennywise to sacrifice Spider-Man?
Right.
If you only have $500 or $600, you rather have Anakin and Spider-Man or an InArt Joker, for example. So or Gandalf. Like, how much do you love? At least that's subjective to everyone. But what if you like all three of them? So that's where the price comes in, kind of like, hey, and my Hot Toys is making it difficult nowadays. So
they are, dude, because you have to think about it. Like, I think, what is the Gandalf? Maybe 500, something like that. Because
right, yeah.
it has rooted beard and rooted hair, right? So, what is Anakin? 280, Padme's 270. So that's 550 versus 500 for both of those compared to Gandalf. So Gandalf is going to be incredible, but again, I think I've said, if not, I'll say it now. If you're going to buy InArt figures, I do feel like they should be probably a tier 1 or tier 2 character for you. Unless you just have all the money to spend and you just don't care, right? But I think at the end of the day, if you're going to be that selective and buy an InArt figure, they are super high quality, but I do feel like you got to love the character to drop that type of change. I mean, which is why I'm willing to get a Pennywise from InArt. By the way, I did cancel my second Pennywise, or I'm going to, because I feel like I didn't need to, right? I'd rather have the money put like this lens. So put the money towards that, right? But I will say, Optical, if you're going to get one of those, I do feel like you should probably really love the character. You should really, really love the character because you're paying for that premium quality and you're paying the premium price for it. But Hot Toys they're making it difficult. Like you said, they're making it really difficult. So, but I do feel like the more reasonable the price, the more willing we are to just accept minor issues or major issues sometimes. Like, Optical, remember when we bought the like CC Toys clicker, right? For example, CC Toys clicker, stuff like that, right? I look at that and I'm like, okay, I got it for $100, right?
Yeah.
It looks great. If I got it for $250, then I might be like, like it's a little squeaky, the body, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd be a little more critical of it. I think this goes, like I said, that's why, like, when I'm buying a statue, I hold it to a higher standard because I'm dedicating a lot of space, a lot of money to it. So when I get that type of thing, I'm like, you know what? It better be fucking good. Like, it's got to, and I'm holding it to a higher level, and I got to really love that character. Sometimes, yes, I'm willing to accept some subpar aspects for a character that I truly love, like a Loki, right? Or, like Jin Sakai or Kratos or whatever, right? But, at the end of the day, it still's got to be really, really good for us to drop that type of money. So I do feel like, yeah, man, I do feel like at the end of the day, again, if I had a BMW that I paid $70,000 versus a Honda that I could get for $30,000, right? I'd want a higher standard of luxury, right? And I know there's a law of diminishing returns, but I just feel like if you're going to pay more, you should be getting more. If you're not getting more, then why do it in the first place, right?
Right. Like, I know with Loki, you're forgiving on that Loki because, again, like, I know 280 or 260, whatever the price, 260. It's a lot of money in a regular life, right? Like, you can buy a lot for 260, but we're living in a 6 scale world, so we're comparing that to other 6 scale. And 260 nowadays, before this Spider-Man, was pretty cheap because we're seeing 285. That Thor is 310. That Lady Thor, that Jane Thor is what, like 320. So considering all like that factor, it was like, okay, 260 is not bad. But imagine if that Loki, same Loki that you love, is $400. You would be more critical. You'd be like, God damn, it's like, what is that forehead? Like, you would have a more visceral reaction than that and be like, Jesus, what is this? And you might not even consider, like, let's say you only have 400 and you got that Loki. Let's say it was made by InArt and 500, and let's say it's rooted, but the hairline is there. So you might even, it's like, let's say you have that Loki. So I know you have to be all in because you don't have any other Lokis. But if you had that Loki, you might not consider selling that Loki, if it's $500. And you'll be like, all right, instead of spending 500 on my S tier character, maybe I'll spend that on I don't know, what's the next tier to S?
That's I guess in that tier system it would be, I guess, like tier 2 for us.
Tier 2, right? Like
tier A, whatever.
Yeah, so you'll buy 2 tier A or 1 tier S. That's really good. So sometimes you gotta make those decisions. But yeah, I mean, price does influence how much you can criticize or praise an item. Like with this guy, I was getting crazy because it's 280. If it's 320, I'll be like, it's expected. It's 320.
Yeah.
He needs to have a purse, So.
Yeah, and he needs to have a fixed neck. So,
it's charging us $320 for a Spider-Man. Are you crazy?
Right. $40 can make that much of a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, especially $40. It doesn't sound a lot, but in reality, that's like almost like 15% increase on this figure, So
yeah, I get what you mean. Man.